for confirming. So, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. And I'm here to talk about how blockchain is impacting various verticals like banking, finance sector, industrial sector, then some utilities, healthcare. So, all these sectors is where blockchain can play a important and critical role. So before going to through these solutions and how blockchain is impacting these sectors, I am assuming that all of the members who are present here are familiar with what is blockchain and how this technology works. I'm not going to go into the details of basics, but I'm just covering high level what it is, so that the context is set here. And after that, whatever I talk in about those vertical solutions, right, that you can relate. In case anyone is very new to blockchain, he can still relate to what we are talking. So blockchain, as you all know, it's a distributed ledger system, basically, wherein you can maintain your data without, relying on some central authority. And I believe everyone has seen the impact of bitcoins and cryptocurrencies everywhere. There is a lot of material available, so we all know what blockchain is basically. Then what is the basic idea behind the blockchain, that I'm just going to cover quickly, so that whatever we will talk after this related to any of these sectors, you can very well visualize how it would be implemented with blockchain. So basically, whenever there is a transaction that needs to be added in a blockchain, right, it has to go through various steps in order to get added into the blockchain. So the first step is authentication. So originally, blockchain was designed to operate without central authority, but still we need some kind of authentication in place. So this is done using cryptographic keys. So it's just like string with passwords, very various passwords you have, right? So it's just like that. And then we use that cryptographic keys to identify the user and give access to their respective accounts on the system. So basically, again, there are two types: public keys, private keys. Private are to your own, and public is like publicly accessible. So the combination of these two forms your digital signature. And then using this digital signature, we can create an identity for that user on that particular blockchain system. So that's how it is authenticated. So first step is authentication. After the authentication, what happens is, then once we agree that okay, this transaction is agreed between the user, it needs to be approved or authorized. So authorization is another step wherein the transaction needs to be authorized before it is added to the blockchain. So for public blockchain, usually the decisions are made based on the consensus by the users. But still, that process of validation, what we called it as proof of work. So what is proof of work? Wherein there are certain high skilled programmers who are skilled enough to solve complex, say for example, mathematical problem, and you call that process as mining. So you might have heard about blockchain mining. So mining is nothing but process of validation and solving the complex programmatical problems. And after the people who do this thing are called miners. So these miners usually are rewarded in cryptocurrencies once they are able to solve it. Okay. And then once it is authorized, everything is done. Basically, that transaction, that block is added to the blockchain. Now, once it is added, again, the history needs to be updated. So, historically, all the blocks need to understand that one transaction or one block is added, and it has to be confirmed by the whole network. Okay. So, say for example, if somebody wants to cheat and say that, okay, I have to alter the history or of a particular block or transaction. You cannot do that, because again, as I said, if it is a public blockchain, then there is a consensus. Every other person has to agree to whatever change has been made. So there is no central authority as such, but then this consensus mechanism and validation process is going to ensure the security and the truthfulness of these transactions. Okay, so as they say, it is like very much impossible to attack blockchain, but it's not like impossible. Even if, I mean, there are certain people who are still managing to break it, but then it's very tough. You have to be very skilled in order to break this chain. Okay, so this is the basic idea behind blockchain, of how it works and how these transactions are added. So after this, I'll be moving into the vertical solutions where blockchain is making a significant impact. And yes, first sector is banking and financial services. Okay, so lot of transactions, as we all know, like in banking, right? There are so many documentations, paperwork, administrative activities that go through when we do a simple loan application. Say, for example, if I'm applying for a loan, first time that agent will come to me, they'll get my form filled in, they'll ask for my photos and all, then they will send those forms and plus my identity documents to their main branch. Then again there will be approval process, then they'll again come back to you with for a KYC, or either you have to visit the bank to do your KYC. And then finally again it goes, all those things again goes through some approval process, validation process, and then finally, if you they find you eligible, you will get the loan amount sanctioned. In today's days, I think digitization has helped a bit, wherein you get messages on your mobiles, or at least you get some emails wherein you can track your loan application. But still there is a lack of visibility. Say, for example, that agent has submitted all your documentations to your main branch of bank's main branch. How will you know? What you'll do is you'll again call that agent and ask, where is my loan application, where it is pending with. He'll tell you that, okay, I have submitted it to main branch, they are validating it. It will take 1 or 2 days. But then I really don't know, and or there is no way for me to verify which branch, who is verifying it, what is happening, what kind of validations there. All those things we don't know or don't have visibility, and that is where blockchain is going to play a major role, because there is no central authority, right? It's a peer to peer networking kind of a thing, wherein there are no intermediaries like these agents and all. Everything is on network. You can interact directly with the people who are validating it. You can check the status of your application real time. You can you know get to have a higher visibility, truthfulness of where it is pending with, what exactly is happening. So basically, in decentralized finance, public blockchain acts as a trust source, or it is governing all your operation. In contrast, so public governance, which entails laws and license. So every time if you want to start any financial aid or services, right, you have to take appropriate licenses, approvals from the governing bodies. Whereas blockchain doesn't have that kind of obligations. In decentralized finance, that is where it is getting more traction, because it is more open and transparent than the traditional banking. There are no barriers as such. If you want to enter and start some financial service, there is no barrier as such. If you are skilled enough, if you have those kind of programming skills, you can definitely go ahead and try it out. It's that convenient. So, what are the different use cases of blockchain in BFSI? I think almost all the sectors of BFSI. So, whatever I could list, I have listed down, but it's like almost all areas where blockchain can play a critical role. Okay, so I'm going to touch base the major things like capital markets, how it is impacting asset management, payments and remittances, banking, trade finance, and insurance. So I'm going to touch base each of these areas because it's in respect of time that we have got. I'm trying to touch base all of these areas, and plus we'll try to see detailed discussion about one of these areas, like how blockchain is really working compared to the traditional model. So capital markets, I think we all know, anyone who has entrepreneurs in at their home or some startups that are there, you all know how difficult it is to raise your capital, finding out the investors and then raising that capital, doing all sorts of documentation and all regulations, and then different people will have different set of regulations, so you have to be very careful, read through all those documents and then go for it. So as we have listed the challenges here, it's like increasingly stringent regulations, of course, because if somebody is investing his money in your startup, he has to establish that trust within you, that okay, you're going to do good with whatever money he is investing, you're going to give back a good amount of money. So definitely there will be, these regulations will be as hard as possible. And then as I said, there is a lot of documentation and intermediaries through which this process is done, which in result gives you longer time to get into the market, because that investment, unless and until the money is there with your account, you cannot do anything. Okay, so volatility of interest rates, again, you never know, the interest rates will change, so you have to be up to date and see what interest rate is going on. Liquidity risk, lack of rigorous monitoring, I think we already talked about, you are unable to trace what is happening, where is happening, where it is pending with. So all these challenges are there with the traditional procedure that we follow, and blockchain offers multiple benefits. So it is decentralized at first place. Secondly, the process will be streamlined, wherein you might know smart contracts. So documentation and all these stuff is taken care by these smart contracts. Okay, and then peer to peer network is where your time will be reduced, you will have real time status, and all these workflows and operations will be automated, and there won't be any human intervention required in all these things. Okay, so those are the offerings that blockchain will offer, and that is gonna help you reduce your time, energy, administrative workload for get raising your funds and start getting into the market with your startup. Asset management, we are going to look into into detail in upcoming slides, but I'm just touch basing this, that asset management, asset can be anything. Okay, it can be your funds, it can be your equity firms, anything can be anything can come inside asset management. And then as we have looked into the benefit, you have a lot of automation wherein all the manual activities can be reduced. You will have automated transfer agency, you will have automated fund, then you'll have these contracts which will help you in maintaining your documentations and data across the network. So there is definitely an impact on the payments. So payments, again, if you go by global payments, it takes around 2 to 7 days for anyone to transfer your major funds across the borders. So then there is a currency change involved. Then you have to convert, what is the rate at which you are going to convert your dollar into rupees or rupees into dollar. All those complexities are there, and then you don't know how much time it will take. There will be some intermediate finance institutions, banks involved, who will be tracking and validating that transaction of yours. So it takes a lot of time, in doing those global payments, and that is where uh, you will find blockchain doing it very quickly and with security and truthfulness. As I said, KYC, it will be digitized. Your transaction history will be recorded. So as we have seen in that basic idea of blockchain, right? If you are changing a history of any, altering any block in the chain, others have to approve it. So transaction history is going to be up to date, and if it is approved, your alteration is approved, all the blocks will get to know that okay, something has changed. So it's very difficult to have frauds in such kind of system. So auditing is very very easy in these cases. So loan, mortgage, and all those things, I think if you have ever tried to apply for mortgage of your property or anything, right? It's a long long process. I've mentioned it like 30 to 60 days, but trust me, it takes months to generate that money, because there is a lot of documentation and administrative work. The bank will come, some people from the bank will come to your that property, they'll take photos, they'll validate it, how much area it is, they'll measure it, and then against it they will check the market rate that is there, and then based on market rate they'll grant you some money. And all of this requires a lot of documentation work, and it's very very difficult to get those funds quickly. And that is where blockchain again impacts, wherein you will have digitization, KYCs, and then because this generates lot of data, right? Every time you do a transaction, or even if you are opening a bank account or something, right, it generates lot of data everywhere you'll find. So there is a this Mukesh Ambani once said, if you guys remember, in one of his speeches, he has said that person will be rich who has oil and data. Those are the two things which are gonna earn you like anything. So why data? Because there is huge amount of data created right now. So be it healthcare, be it banking, it's lot of data that is getting created, and if you are able to analyze it efficiently, you are going to do wonders. You can do a lot of things if you analyze it properly. So this credit prediction, credit scoring, all these data you can definitely access and see and do some analytics over it, and you can reduce the time there. Okay. So trade finance, again, I think this is the case which I'm going to talk a bit in detail. So basically, finance refers to the infrastructure, processes, and funding that support international trade supply chains. So, supply chain is another area where blockchain impacts, and I'm going to explain you in upcoming slides. But again, this in trade financing is a huge number of administrative effort, and as we see, it requires around 90 to 120 days, so more than basically 3 months to get one trade finance transaction completed. So that is where again, as I said, digitization is going to play an important role. I think we are halfway. We have digitized up to certain extent, but this kind of automation is an end-to-end automation wherein validation, authorization, authentication, everything will be done, and you will have access to everything, and you will get real time status and all those things. So again, this area we'll talk about in more detail in upcoming slides. Insurance, we all know, KYC, claims. So smart contracts are going to help you in generating these claims, getting disbursement. So there is a way wherein you can set auto payment option is there. So lot of things that you can achieve using blockchain. This is the one of the important factor for banking domain, which is compliance. So whatever you do, it has to be compliant. Okay, so regulatory compliance has become increasingly important in finance. And in order to ensure that we are respecting the laws, rules, and regulation, it's a huge challenge, because then you will have different authorities that you're interacting with, and then they will have different set of rules. But here in blockchain, you don't have that kind of different intermediaries. It's a unique governance. So all these smart contracts, as I said, takes lot of effort in defining those contracts, programming them in an efficient way so that everybody obliges to that smart contract. And there is a streamlined process and mining process or consensus process by which you get those contracts agreed, and then the transactions happen. So compliance is again an area which wherein smart contracts are playing an important role. So for trade finance, right, let us look at how conventional and blockchain based implementation work. So this diagram shows you like convention paper based transaction and the blockchain based contract management. So, you know, in conventional trade finance transaction, the bank assumes the credit risk of importer and exporter and intermediates the account settlement process to ensure that the exporter is receiving the payment and the importer is receiving the delivery. And then there are a lot of entities in between. One is your transportation company, insurance, bank, and then paperwork involved in between in the traditional. So the procedure to sign the sales agreement, to shipping out the delivery, it is all done manually. Okay, so which results in lot of administrative workload and processing time. So using blockchain, these transactions are processed impartially, and the sales agreement will be there as part of smart contract, and that kind of speeds up the transactions. And then the stakeholders, that is your importer and exporter, gets a real time status of where that transaction is, what is happening, whether the it is following the sales agreement, whether shipment is done. So all these entities will get real time status, and that is where we are reducing the paperwork. It is low cost, and the transaction time is as quick as possible, because once the smart contract is passed, this transaction is complete. Okay, so this is how basically conventional versus blockchain based finance works. So similarly, you will see these kinds of things in payments or loan application processing as well. All the intermediaries will be removed, all your documentation stuff will be part of your smart contracts, and KYCs and everything will be digitized. All this data again is maintained in that network, so that you know you can audit, see, and track the applications properly. Okay, so this is how blockchain is impacting the finance sector. So benefits, I think we all know by now that it's all good. Like blockchain has peer to peer transactions, it has history based transaction records, and then smart contracts are there, and then there is a service concept. So even in today's software companies, you'll see most of them are migrating towards service based architectures. So what is service based architecture? Wherein each of your activity is developed as a service, so that you can consume it and use it anywhere. Okay, so say for example, if you want to incentivize someone for some activity, so it can be related to any department. It can be related to student incentives, it can be related to resource manager incentives, it can be related to any kind of incentive. So you just develop a service, create a logic, and anyone can consume it. That's how the service concept is coming in. So with this, coming back to this blockchain kind of a thing, you are utilizing all these things to develop services which can, match your details, or your smart contracts, whatever conditions and regulations you have, you can match those services accordingly. Plus, because the historical data is getting created and there is a lot of data generated, if you are skilled enough to do some data analytics on it, you can definitely create value for your business. So anyways, all the business stakeholders, they need numbers, what is happening, what is not happening. So if you're good in analytics, you can provide those numbers, and this is the way blockchain will work and will benefit the finance sector. Now, even though all good things that we talked about blockchain, that blockchain is good in this thing, blockchain is good at, low cost, quicker, secure, there are certain challenges still, because of which you will see that not everything has moved to blockchain. Okay, so these are like implementation challenges for blockchain. Okay, so there is no global standard as such available for, blockchain, how it has to be. Everybody is right now doing their research and programming it in the way they want. There is no standard uh, way which is being followed everywhere. Okay, and then there are some public blockchains, there are some private blockchain. If it is a public blockchain, anybody can go see there, and that is kind of less secure. So then you, if you decide to move to a private blockchain, again there is a problem that it will be secure enough, but then you won't be able to interact with other blockchains which are in public domain. Okay, security, so I think majorly blockchain is relying on cryptography, but cyber security attackers are efficient enough to crack those cryptographic keys and, break through the blockchain, although it's very difficult, but still it is possible. So we say that it's secure, but again, we cannot guarantee that it's like 100% secure. There will be some way out wherein people will be able to break and attack it. Okay, encryption, I think it's complex a bit to understand and implement. So not everybody is familiar with this encryption technology. So you have to understand the types of keys, I think SHA 256 and all those DES, all those encryption methods, you have to understand, analyze, and then implement it according to your needs. So that kind of is a bit complex still now. Then comes on the hardware part. So as I said, this consensus mechanism, proof of work validation process requires huge computers with huge capacity. Normal computers won't be able to do it. So to process this entire thing, you need some supercomputers, fast computers. Okay, and then legal framework, as I said, it's a decentralized system, so no government governing authority, nobody has control over what is going on and how it should be. Okay, so although it's gonna ease your time and this thing, but still, I mean, in today's world, we still need some kind of governance everywhere. And that is where it, this implementation kind of brings out the challenges. With your company policies, organization policies, you have to find it out whether this is really applicable and can we do it. So all these things are there in place, and these, the research is still going on, and once, we move on and do some progress, these blockers will also go off, I'm pretty sure. But I just wanted to list these challenges, that even though it's all good with blockchain, it does have some challenges in real world. Okay, so with this, I hope I have touch based almost all sectors where blockchain is impacting. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to stop me anywhere. Okay. Am I going too fast?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. So, moving on to the next vertical, I think industry and manufacturing. And when we talk about industrial sector, industry also maintains a version. Okay, there is a history how it is evolving, and then they have a given it some version number based on which how these industries are progressing. So industry 4.0 is where it talks about AI, IoT, big data, blockchain, and like stuff. So when we talk about industry and manufacturing, right, compared to banking and finance, banking and finance involve lot of document and intermediaries, and that is where we are using smart contracts, and we are able to resolve a lot of intermediaries and documentation stuff with blockchain. But with industrial sector, blockchain can answer, or blockchain can give you solutions only for certain areas. If you want to build end to end automation in industrial or manufacturing sector, you need to combine it with IoT and AI. So combination of AI, IoT, and blockchain. Big data is again and there for capturing the data and doing some analytics over there. So big data is a different thing, and of course it is also necessary. But then to build the end-to-end automation in industrial or manufacturing sector, you need a combination of AI, IoT, and blockchain. That can give you that can do wonders basically. So this is the industrial revolution, like 1.0. If you see, it was based on steam engines. 2.0 is where they got some electricity, and using that electrical energy they were doing some assemblies. 3.0 is where they started using computers and automation. 4.0, as I said, 4.0 is where it started talking about digitization of lot of things, and 5.0 is where we are right now, wherein the interdependence of man and machine using cognitive computing and human intelligence. So AI, IoT, and blockchain is the answer for this 5.0 revolution. Okay. So as I said, these are the drivers and enablers for industrial revolution. So what they need is IoT, Internet of Things, robotics, then cyber security, 3D printing, precise products, cloud computing. All these are latest technologies which they are targeting to revolutionize the entire industrial sector. Okay, so smart solutions, smart factory, smart products, and smarter supply chain. So before I move on, I'll just give a brief introduction on IoT so that you can relate of how it works, and then we'll talk about one real time use case as well, wherein IoT plus blockchain is able to automate end to end. So IoT is nothing but devices and machines equipped with networking capability, which can collect data. For example, uh, you know this wherein you are able to, your devices are able to talk to each other, sense various sensors, and then you are connecting them all over internet and carry out your analysis. So that is IoT. So for example, IoT based smart home systems, so wherein your sensors are able to detect where you are, whether you are in office, whether you are at home or not. If you are out of home, all these electronic appliances should shut down. So that kind of sensors and comes under IoT based technology. Okay, so with this combination of this technology plus blockchain is where you are going to automate industrial uh, factors end to end. Okay, so for example, like I am the owner of certain vehicles, right? So I'm trying to upload some data that I can do on a blockchain network. But ultimately, all that device related data will be sensed and governed by IoT environment. Okay, so this kind of integration is where you will have end-to-end automation. And if you are trying to download certain information, again it is based on your blockchain contracts, and if that conditions are satisfied, then only you can download the data. So this kind of network is where you will find in industrial sector, and you will be able to automate it end to end. I'll show you one use case shortly. So, in the industrial sector where blockchain is growing, impacting, I think again, as we saw in banking sector, similarly in industrial sector, almost everywhere, be it agriculture industry, manufacturing, retail, healthcare, power, everywhere you will find end-to-end automations coming in with IoT and blockchain. So, what are the different applications in industrial sector? So, one is manufacturing data protection. So, the we already talked about encryption. So, underlying encryption of a blockchain can be used for data protection. So, what data protection means is it can prevent unwanted viewing of some data that is transmitted through public network. So, and then this data can be anything. It can be your intellectual property proof or copyrights. It can be anything, and that is where encryption will play a role in data protection. Identification of product and assembly means, you know technology, blockchain technology is used to collect the data at each stage, which can, significantly minimize your costs and disruptions in current context. So, perfect way to manage your assembly. Say, for example, if you have a manufacturing line of certain thing, okay, and then to build that particular object, you require X quantity of tools and Y quantity of oil. Okay, so if you feed this data anytime there is a lack of this tool or oil, you will the distributors of respective oil and tools will get a notification that okay, this quantity is this. A very homely example of this is, say for example, your fridge. Okay, for a month, if you require X amount of vegetables, Y amount of some butter and everything, right? You feed all these data into the system, and then it will monitor the your inventory, and it will check whether all these things are present or not. If something is not there, it will generate an alert or notification. Okay, so similar kind of monitoring you can implement in your assemblies as well. Okay, so in automotive sector, I think it is majorly contributing toward the purchasing and storing the data digitally. Information security, I think we already talked about. Information is digitally stored, such as maybe how a particular good is produced, or how they are beginning to ship that. All these things is stored, and then you can accurately monitor and track whether the data is exchanged with appropriate information and timely. So traditional systems can be hacked, but blockchain system preserves knowledge with best cryptographic approaches. So if you have the cryptography technical skill set, and if you develop it to the best of your needs, no way that system can be hacked. Okay. Supervision. So in area of crowdfunding and investment capital, blockchain has implemented principle of smart contract. So this contributed to improved supervision of each agency's individual campaigns and reducing possibility of frauds. Okay, so smart contract development is another skill set which is required in order to have accurate monitoring. Okay, And blockchain allows you to monitor. So for, say for example, if you run kind of a donation campaign, right? So it's very difficult, or even you don't trust it fully. If even if I donate 1 or 2 rupees, whether it is really going to that beneficiary's account or not. So that kind of trust you still don't have, and that is where this blockchain can help you establishing that trust, and you'll be able to see whether whatever money you have donated, it is going to the beneficiary or not. Okay, transactions are registered in a global blockchain booklet, and it is kind of stored on a thousands of computers worldwide. So blockchain also holds a previous hash of each block. So it is quickly detected and avoided to modify or forge any transactions, because even if you try to do it, the consensus has to happen. So that fraud is also quickly detected. Supply chain is where I'm going to show you practically, like for one use case, like how it is implemented using blockchain. So supply chain, I think centralization of ERP applications is where supply chain is automated, and you have complete control of your in-house activities. And data storage, I think this itself has some blockchain has its own file system for storage as well. And if it is a small data, you can still store in the block as well. Okay, so these are the different areas where blockchain and IoT can be used to automate end to end. So this is a sample use case for supply chain. Okay, so basically it's about a farmer who is growing rice and all those things. So traditional system, how it works is, it begins with a producer of a product, and if you see, it is ending with a consumer of the product. So producer produces a product, then he sells it to the processor for processing. So and the next level is the once the processor is processing that particular product, it is selling it to the distributor. Now distributor again goes to reseller, and consumer actually goes to retailer, and that is where he buys that product. Correct. So this is a traditional way of how basically things work in a conventional system. So if you see the communication pattern here, farmer is only communicating with the processor. Consumer is only communicating with retailer. Consumer no way knows from where this particular rice is coming. Who is the farmer of my particular, my particular product that I am buying. So stakeholders, if you see at each level, don't have a visibility. Okay, history of product is not traceable. End user cannot verify the source of product. So if we go to a blockchain based process, right? Decentralization means no single entity would be able to control the supply chain. And it's a peer to peer network model wherein any entity can communicate with any other entity without involving intermediaries. So, and all the transactions that are happening will be visible to all the stakeholders. Okay, so what can be the main components here? Digital documents is one thing. Then which blockchain you can use? For example, we can use Ethereum blockchain. And then as I said, blockchain has the interplanetary file system, IPFS. Okay, which can be used to store these digital documents. And then finally the system users. What kind of digital documents these would be? It can be PO, or some dispatching related information, or some payment related information. All these will comprise of digital documents. So Ethereum blockchain, why I took it as an example, because it's an open source blockchain. And then IPFS. So whenever a file, so these all POs and payment related information is very critical information. So all these we have stored on IPFS, which is like a file system which has a unique cryptography hash, so cryptographic function within built in within it. So whenever a file is stored in IPFS, a unique cryptographic hash is returned, and this hash is used to address or identify the file. So now how it will maintain the integrity is, so based on the file content it will generate that hash. So anytime if any file has same kind of data, it will not generate a different hash, so the file will remain the same and the hash will remain the same. So that is where this integrity is maintained, and all of these things, the time or the intermediaries and everything, every complexity of a conventional system is addressed here. Okay, so this is a sample of a supply chain. You can have n number of supply chains in industrial sectors, and all of these can be addressed using such kind of solution. Okay, so moving, I think this is what I wanted to cover, basically majorly on supply chain, uh, how it works and how this entire chain is automated. So I think we talked about asset and inventory registry in brief. So just to give you again a brief about what is asset management. It is a process of managing the transfer of an asset from one entity to another. So it can be anything. It can be your stock of bonds, property related issue, equities, anything. Whether the asset are tangible or intangible, an management platform maintains things of value to an entity or group of entities. How blockchain is applied to asset management, I think there are several ways in which we talked about briefly earlier as well. Transparency and resiliency of your transaction data, so enables open collaboration. So peer to peer networking is where blockchain can have open collaboration and people have a greater visibility. Transaction transparency, I think we also talked about this, wherein you cannot update any historical transactions that easily. So, transaction performed on a blockchain are immutable, and then enforces consistency. So this technology assures consistent records by ensuring that there are no doubts, since the block must be verified by the nodes with a consensus agreed upon. So all these factors are helping in asset management as well. So inventory management. So inventory management, Abhi, if we want to talk about current situation, right? For example, uh, traditional inventory management is a reactive management. For example, if you go to a medical shop, right, and if you ask for some medicine, what he will do is he'll first check in his shop. If it is not available, then he will make an entry in his diary that okay, this medicine is finished. But this is a reactive management wherein somebody asked for that medicine, and that is where he is trying to search, and then he is making a note, okay, my inventory is short of this medicine. But blockchain, you will have proactive management of inventory. So as I gave you an example of fridge, right? If you feed the proper data, it will automatically maintain that inventory. And say if I'm talking about a smart fridge, right, wherein it can talk to or send alerts to your distributors or vegetable seller, right? So it can generate notifications to your vegetable seller, and he can come to your home and deliver your vegetables if it is empty in your fridge. So that kind of technology is getting used in inventory management. So one good example of this is like, if you go to market and you are trying to buy a particular t-shirt, you'll bargain. If he's saying 1000, you'll say 800. If he's 800, you'll bring him down to 500. What if we automate this entire thing? I think Amazon and other websites have already digitized it to a certain extent, but you can still automate this in end to end manner. Because, say for example, in this diagram, if you see, there is one application wherein you are creating your profile, at the same time seller is also creating a profile, and then there is a marketplace system based on blockchain. Okay, so wherein all the assets are managed, and auditor, there is a audit mechanism already created, and then there is a smart contract for seller and buyer. So say for example, a seller is saying that I'll sell my product for 10 lakh dollar, $10,000, but you are saying that no, I want it for $9,000. So you send a bid that okay, I'll buy it for $9,000. If the seller approves the bid, there is a auto payment scheduled, and then you get an acknowledgement receipt. So all this entire thing is happening over a network of blockchain, right from your bidding process to whether seller is approving it or not. And if once it is approved, that payment, acknowledgement, everything, and then updating the inventory, the marketplace, everything is happening over a network, blockchain network. No intermediaries, no documentation, nothing is involved here. So that this kind of automation is where you will see the blockchain is impacting the inventory and asset management as well. I think benefits we all know, like it's very easy to verify, trace, and uh, there is a reduction in time, cost, administrative workload, increased transparent visibility. So these kinds of benefits blockchain is offering to the asset management. So now if you compare the transactions that happen with blockchain and traditional, right? So say for example, a retailer is placing an order with the supplier, and the supplier acknowledges it with the receipt. So you can very well compare it, this conventional record keeping, with the blockchain kind of a thing. For each of the transaction, the block is getting added here. Now supplier requests for a loan from bank, again there is a transaction, so again a block is added. Now supplier invoices and ships the merchandise to retailer, again a block is added. All of these users are already there in blockchain, so blocks are getting added. The entire network is getting updated. Everyone here in this network is having visibility as to what is happening. Okay, so this kind of structure is where blockchain is making difference compared to the traditional transactions and record keeping. Okay, so inventory management benefits, I think we already talked about. Blockchain provides a collaborative framework for sharing a ledger that's immutable and transparent to both the parties. Real time updates, cryptographic proof of trust, shared and transparent data, single source of truth, trusted transactions, tamper evident transaction history, and real time visibility. So these are the benefits that are offered by blockchain in inventory management. Okay. So challenges will always be there, even though all seems very good, there will be some challenges. So for asset management, there are certain challenges of blockchain. Okay, first is lack of market familiarity. So these technologies, although they are in market, they are not that, our market, at least Indian market, is not that familiar, and that is one of the reasons the adoption is slow right now. Okay, and then the regulatory frameworks and governing bodies again. So even if you do certain things, it is not that easy to get it approved from the governing bodies. They will have their own regulations and trust, and it's not easy for anyone to shift this entire thing on the blockchain. So that is where uh, the future is definitely blockchain, I'll say. The technology is going to stay here, but then it's kind of slow adoption is what we can say in Indian markets. So this is how it is affecting the asset and inventory management sector. Moving on, utilities. So utilities is where you will find mostly use of IoT and combination of IoT and blockchain basically, because it's an energy industry. So solar, electric vehicles. So it will involve smart vehicles, smart metering. So that is kind of Ethereum blockchain. Enterprise Ethereum blockchain is the next emerging technology that is coming in the energy sectors through smart contracts and system interoperability. Okay, so what, say for example, let's take an example for this energy sector. Okay, electricity bill. Traditionally what happens is every month there will be a person who is coming to your home and he is capturing your meter reading, and then one he'll send that data to the auditor. The auditor will verify that data, then he'll again enter that data into their billing system and all, and then it will generate a bill. Then the bill will be dispatched via either email or post, and then the customer has to pay the bill either on the payment kiosk or the online payments. Okay, that is the traditional way of paying a electricity bill. Now what are the challenges? As we all know, data entry is done manually, so there might be errors, and then he is capturing a photo of your meter. So clarity in what digits he is capturing and what actually is getting entered, we don't have a visibility. Okay, all the data is stored on a centralized server, so it can be lost, it can be hacked, anything can happen. And all this process is time consuming and requires considerable amount of people to capture the photo, to do the data entry, to generate the bill, to dispatch the bill, and then finally the customer has to pay the bill. And then bank or other intermediaries will also charge their additional fees if customer is trying to pay that bill online. So these are the challenges in the traditional way of how we pay the electricity bill. If we are trying to address these challenges, a combination of blockchain plus IoT can help us. So how it can help us is, say for example, you have a smart IoT meter installed at your home. Okay, so what it will do is it will send the meter readings periodically to the blockchain network, and then the meter also triggers the smart contract based on the business rule to generate the accurate and immutable electricity bill. Okay, and now once that bill is generated based on your meter reading, the customers will get the electricity bill on their, say, mobile apps or on their email. Okay, and then you can also program smart contracts in a way to enable your auto payment option. So if you are able to do that, then probably there is no manual intervention at all, because the meter readings are getting sent onto your network automatically. It is calculating your bill based on the smart contract, it is generating that bill, sending it to you, and if you have set up that auto payment option, you don't even have to check it, it will auto deduct the amount and your payment is done. So compared to traditional model, right, this blockchain based network is doing the same thing very quickly, plus giving you the visibility of what is happening. Okay, the meter reading is accurate because the meter itself is sending the data to your data entry system or whatever it is. Okay, there is no manual effort required, or there is no intermediary who is sitting in between capturing a photo and entering it manually into the system. This all thing is automated. So this is one particular use case that I have taken just to explain you how blockchain can impact the utility sector. There are several other use cases where blockchain can make impact, but just to give you a visibility of end to end how blockchain can uh, help you in building the end to end automation. So electricity distribution, again, the grids and all those things, if we combine blockchain technology with IoT devices, this is gonna help you in automating this entire electricity distribution by uh, very quickly. You can automate it, you can track your metering usage, billing, all these things will be automated with combination of this technology. Peer-to-peer energy market is a shared network of individuals who trade and buy excess energy from other participants. So these energy markets benefit the masses because they reduce control from central authority, such as wholesale entities. So all these things, again, a combination of IoT and blockchain can help you uh, reducing your workload. Okay, electricity data management, I think we already saw in that particular use case, wherein it is maintaining smart contracts and calculating your electricity bill based on your usage, and it is generating the bills. So very well, blockchain is helpful to uh, maintain the data accuracy as well, and there won't be any errors, and nobody can manipulate it in between. Okay, utility providers, again, the same use case example that I talked about. You can have, electric power providers are large and complex firms that generate energy from power plants and various other sources. So they don't compete with each other in terms of financial or banking industry. These firms are more willing to share information and data, which presents a unique opportunity for blockchain's shared ledger. Okay, so enterprise Ethereum can process and validate data from many devices, and that is where blockchain is helping out. And then blockchain can help you create a system of transactions of data, which is critical for distribution. And then lastly, distributed ledger technology can be used to develop a system for transacting energy among diverse set of actors. So these actors need not necessarily be the the blockchain nodes are not necessarily related to each other. It can be anyone. Okay. So I think that meter use case is sufficient enough to visualize how blockchain and IoT combination works and how you can automate end to end in utilities sector. Moving on to logistics, I think more of a documentation again, wherein you have to check the POs and shipments and the costs, bills, everything, and then the entire regulatory bodies. If you are transporting it worldwide, then again there is a different set of regulations, tax, all those things come in place for logistics. So, what blockchain can offer to logistics is transparency, immutability, security. Okay, so it is going to reduce paper based documentation, it is going to digitize and standardize the freight documentation, and then all the players it is going to connect using peer to peer network, and that is kind of best route for logistics basically. Okay, so implementation challenges, I think we already covered it last time in other sectors as well. Same challenges are in place for logistics as well, wherein it is very difficult to convince the existing people to accommodate and integrate blockchain into their existing ecosystem. Okay, storage model is different, and then blockchain is an evolving technology. So that is where the implementation challenges are there, but I think with improving knowledge we can definitely and transparency, and given the benefits that it is offering, this is gonna improve and improve a lot. Okay, So, key blockchain use cases, again, authenticity, faster and leaner logistics in global trade. Global trade, blockchain is going to impact a huge, because global trade by the conventional model takes a lot of time. Blockchain is one technology wherein you can connect peer to peer and reduce a lot of administrative workload and time. Okay, transparency, traceability, and automating commercial processes in logistics with smart contracts. So, all these are the use cases in the logistics. So, typically, how that entire logistic model will work. So, conventionally, what happens is one manufacturer transmits the load to supplier, warehouse, and the third party logistic people. Okay, what third party people will do, they will optimize the capacity shipment in real time, and again it will transfer it to the carrier. Now third party will ship load to carrier, and then it will provide visibility ki theek hai, the shipment is sent. Now carrier provides the shipment status at every stage to all, and then finally the consignee receives the uh, shipment. So now this entire network, if we see at each stage, everybody has a visibility of where that shipment is, and the kind of documentation that is involved here is, say for example, manufacturer to supplier, we need batch numbers, barcodes, shipment dates, and all those things. Supplier to logistic, third party logistic is where you need order number, production data, shipment specification. When the third party transfers it to the carrier, it needs the routing instruction, description of commodity, and everything. And then when the carrier is transferring that shipment to warehouse, again it needs a delivery signature and the shipment status. From warehouse to short haul carrier is where you need the packaging specification, barcode, routing instructions, etc. And then finally when it reaches to consignee, you need the invoice number, customer id, shipping status, and etc. So all this is a lot of information, and everything is maintained in the blockchain, in the distributed ledger via internet. And smart contracts are orchestrating the shipment transaction, and it is processing the triggers and algorithms. So all those things, all this thing is automated, and the consignee and the manufacturer, who are the key players here, will have visibility as to where their shipment is. Okay, so this is how blockchain works in logistics. Benefits of blockchain in logistics, I think it still remains the same. Blockchain improves efficiency uh, by improving the delivery process. So you can track goods and boost your productivity. You can concentrate more on your production rather than having your energy in tracking where the shipments are. You can improvise your supply chains as well. And then blockchain is immutable and secure again, so you can track and history of what shipments you have delivered till now. After successful exchange of goods and settlement of smart contract, data centers, the public and private blockchain together with algorithms can can be used. And you can use hash functions as well there to track the entire information basically. And then speeds up the payment process. We have already seen how blockchain helps in speeding up the entire payment cycle by using smart contracts. So with smart contracts, payments are issued automatically, so as soon as the buyer has met all the criteria required by consumer, making payment and invoice management is faster and more precise. Okay, the last domain that we are going to look at is the healthcare domain, and I believe in recent COVID-19 storm, we have seen a huge amount of data getting generated. So it is in different area, be it is patient information, be it what you can say vaccine distribution, then who all are vaccinated, not vaccinated, medical symptoms, what kind of medicines. So there is a huge amount of data that gets generated in healthcare domain. And then there is a supply chain as well involved in the pharmacy side, wherein the medicine supply, the medical equipment supply, a lot of supply chains are involved, and all these can be automated and made more transparent and faster using blockchain. So this is how you can visualize the roadmap for blockchain in the healthcare sector. Short term is, which is like a, short term thing that you're trying to automate, which doesn't involve any patient data or anything as such. Medium term is where, you can scale with permission stakeholder and handle some amount of patient data. And long term is like huge system, which can you master the health records, access rights, and patient data as well. So the long term goal is to have a one big system which can, monitor the patient data for from patient's perspective, patient data from doctor perspective, medical equipments, medicine data, everything is monitored in a single system, and that is where we are looking at right now. So say for example, again a use case that I'm taking is how your bills and claims are processed. So say for example, I am covered under some kind of insurance, so now I have to claim the bills and everything. So how it usually works is the patient first schedules an appointment with the insurance provider. Then they will tell you what kind of health services and medical bills that they can reimburse. Then they will have to enter all the billing into their software. Again, they'll send all these claims and everything to their higher offices, main branch offices, wherein they will do audit. And then once the payer adjudicates that the claim is okay and there are no errors, they decide on how much they can reimburse based on your insurance cover. Okay, and that is where the provider is reimbursed by the payer, and the patient is sent a bill. So that is how this entire thing works conventionally. Now, if we try to compare it again with trade conventional and blockchain based system, so everything is connected again here. Okay, patient, insurer, hospital, all are interacting with each other, and there is a smart contract. Insurer process payment for provider based on the smart contract. When once insurer gets discharge code in patient blockchain data, then say for example the patient is admitted into the hospital. Now again, the clinical data is stored in the IT system, whatever IT system that hospital is having, the clinical data is stored. Then again, there will be standard data fields like patient's public ID and all those, they are again redirected to blockchain. Now each transaction is stored on blockchain containing patient's public non-identifiable ID, and patient data can be viewed by the insurer on the blockchain. So all these things, if you see, compared to the traditional system wherein a patient has to visit physician, then he'll prescribe, then you will submit that to the pharmacy, he'll dispense the drugs, again you have to collect the bills and then go to the payer. So all these things involves time and documentation, and that is where blockchain is reducing this entire workload by connecting peer to peer. So the claim process is simplified. The insurer has a visibility into patient data, hospital has the visibility into patient data, patient has a visibility of where his claim is. Okay, so all this thing is faster, secure, and at the same time reducing a lot of workload on the administration. So What are the features of blockchain for healthcare domain? I think protection of healthcare data, personal health record, data management, care genomics, electronic health record data management, managing the medical records, interoperable electronic health record, tracking diseases and outbreaks, safeguarding genomics. So there are a lot of these are like advanced level of things that you can spend your time and energy on if you have such kind of automation in place. Okay. So healthcare use cases where we can use blockchain is storing information of an individual patient, so before and after the different clinical trials and study phases, right? A significant amount of patient information, health data is generated, and all of this can be stored, and healthcare providers can traverse the stored data and suspect its validity, and they'll check this seamlessly by matching it to the original record stored on the blockchain. So all of this can happen seamlessly on the blockchain. Analyze the effects of a particular procedure. So, researchers can effectively analyze any particular procedure on a large part of the patient population through verified access to the patient data. Say, for example, with blockchain infrastructure in place, pharmaceutical firms will gather data in real time to deliver a wide range of precisely adapted prescription drugs or services for patients. Blockchain makes the job of pharmacies simpler since it has all the data available on the blockchain, and they will efficiently instruct patients on how to take the medication from these results. So, and then at the same time, since it is a peer to peer network, it will update doctors on the present stage of patient with variable data gathered in real time, and in case there is an emergency, they'll alert them. So there are certain smart devices that you might have heard about that are coming in right now in market. So which is like a smart watch. If you wear it, it will track your heartbeats, BP, everything. And then based if say for example, if your heartbeats are reduced, it will immediately send a notification or it will call your health your personal doctor, family doctor. It will generate a call and alert for your family doctor that okay, this person has some problem in the heartbeat. They'll immediately call you, advise you, and tell you how to take care of yourself. So those are the kind of devices that are coming in market, and blockchain and IoT based things are helping out here. Okay, validation. I think we all know transactions are validated in blockchain until they are linked to a chain are done, and it is done using complex algorithms. So the authenticity is sealed until the material is encrypted, digitally signed, and saved. Safety and transparency. I think blockchain enables physician to devote more time to treat patients. It would also allow supporting clinical trials and treatments for any rare disorders. Smooth data exchange among providers of medical solutions can contribute to diagnostic precision, efficient therapies. I think there are a lot of areas where doctors can concentrate more. Okay, health record keeping. I think we have already seen patients can send their health information via an app to a blockchain network, and collaboration of sensors and intelligent devices is facilitated based on the digital blockchain contract. In most cases, electronic health records are spread across various care institutions, and blockchain is going to do is going to unify all these details with patients having historical access as well, and connection of all these data at same place will give us new perspective on patients health status. Okay, what it was previously and what it is now, doctors will have a very good perspective of how they want to treat a particular patient. Clinical trials, I think this also we talked about it. Blockchain will be used to address the problems of false results and data integration that do not match the purpose and objective of research. So blockchain is going to strengthen the trust in clinical trials. Patient monitoring, blockchain trust allows medical professional to ensure they have access to medical equipments when necessary. Combined again here, we need combination of blockchain and IoT technologies to improve the responsiveness and traceability in supply chain. So I think I have given you a walkthrough on how supply chain can be automated using IoT and blockchain, and that is kind of going to help you in monitoring the supply chain aspects as well. Okay, and research initiative, I think a huge amount of patient data is generated, and that is gonna help you build your new research initiatives as well. And furthermore, if you, exchange of patient findings in greater depth will catalyze new research, and that can be an a medium where you can build a extraordinary partnership between your participants who are participating in your research and the researchers. So these are all the use cases where blockchain and blockchain plus IoT can play a major role. So, by this, I think I've tried to give you a glimpse of blockchain usage in all the verticals, different verticals. And I think moving on, apart from these verticals, there are a lot of other areas where blockchain is going to be get used, IoT is going to get used. Okay, so there are a lot of other areas as well wherein these kinds of automation are going to come sooner or later. So and then coordination between all these different industries and the records, all these things, blockchain and IoT combination is going to improve the business efficiency and create new opportunities as well. Okay, so, with this, I think would like to conclude today's session, and I'll open up if there are any questions that I can answer. Anyone?
Yes, you can have. If you have any queries, you can ask.
Yeah, or probably I will also share my email ID wherein you can write me, and I'll definitely make sure to respond to your queries as well.
Yes, ma'am. And can you please share this PPT also, ma'am, so that I will
Yes,
share with them.
yes, yes, sure.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. Okay, I think there are no queries.
Okay,
Okay. Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am, for your valuable time. And the session was very nice and it went very smoothly. Thank you so much, ma'am.
thank you,
Yes.
everyone.
Yeah, ma'am. So tomorrow morning we will have, ma'am,
Yes,
next year,
yes,
right?
yes.
Yes. Okay. Okay. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye bye.